365, Google Workspace, and everywhere else you'd work. It automatically combines your contacts, communication histories, your emails, and calendar appointments into one unified record. We also have an app that's available for both iOS and Android. And at this point, Nimble also integrates with social media and almost 200 different applications here. Cool. When you first log into Nimble, you'll be taken to your Today page, which appears like so. It's designed to allow you to completely customize it so you can make it specific to your needs and to your role in the company. Each user's Today page is specific to them, so you can go ahead and adjust it as necessary. Before you really start populating this page with data, we want to make sure that everything is connected. And the best place to do that would be by going to your Networks and Imports page, either by clicking down here for your settings or your avatar, the little icon in the top right corner. And then you'll just go to Networks and Imports here. And this will take you to basically the connection hub. This is where you would bring in, any information from Nimble. This is where you can sync your different accounts as well as import contacts. You first want to go ahead and make sure that your email is connected. Nimble does support all email providers as long as they're set up for IMAP access. So if your account is not already set up for IMAP access, it might be set up for POP or something like that, you might want to reach out to your email admin just to go ahead and confirm. Additionally, for any of your accounts here, you'll notice that if you're using Office 365, it's a pretty simple connection. You can go ahead and import your emails, calendars, and even your contacts with just one click. You'll go ahead and use the Connect to Microsoft 365 account option here, and you'll notice you have some options of what you can connect. So whether that be emails, contacts, or calendars. And then once you click Connect Microsoft 365, you'll simply go ahead and log in, and you'll be asked which calendars you'd like to sync that are associated with this account, which contact groups, and your emails automatically go ahead and be synced to Nimble. You might also want to go ahead and tag your contacts. Notice if you click there, we always recommend adding a tag upon import just so you can easily group and identify them. For instance, you'll notice that as my contacts, you can select specific groups and you would add your tag right here, just going ahead and typing that into directly. And then you can decide if you want to go ahead and sync your contacts once, or if you want to have a periodic sync that'll go ahead and add any new contacts that you might have added to that Office 365 account directly to Nimble weekly. The tag will just go ahead and let you and all of your users know who imported them and when. It's just a great way to easily group and identify all of those contacts. If you're using Gmail, it's also very easy. It's a similar process in that you'll go ahead and select connect the G Suite account. You'll have to connect your calendars and email contacts separately. But again, it's a pretty simple process. You'll just go ahead and click there, log in. Again, if you're doing contacts, you might want to go ahead and add a tag. You can also go ahead and connect social networks. Nimble currently integrates with Twitter, so you can go ahead and connect your Twitter account here. You'll be able to see your entire history of conversations, so any messages you sent to and from other Nimble contacts. You'll also be able to see your prospects and Twitter customers, your feed directly inside of your account. Or you can also import contacts directly from Twitter if you'd like, from any of the lists that you've created, followers or friends, things like that. Facebook and Instagram have made the decision a couple years ago to actually close their API, so we're not currently able to integrate with them, but we still do make it possible for you to use Nimble on any of your favorite social networks with our browser extension called the Prospector, and I'll go ahead and demonstrate that to you a little bit later. For the moment, you might consider importing your LinkedIn connections to Nimble by downloading them from your LinkedIn account from a CSV and then uploading them in a CSV file directly to Nimble. You'll be able to go ahead and match the different data fields in this file to, or rather the columns in this file to the data fields that exist in Nimble, just like you would with any other CSV you would use to import contacts. And again, you can run this export and import periodically to keep your contacts up to date, or you might consider using the Prospector. Additionally, Nimble will automatically merge all duplicates based on their email address. And we have somewhat covered it. The easiest way to go ahead and import contacts also in bulk would be through a CSV file. This is a convenient way since many companies use spreadsheets and sort of lists of their contacts and customers and prospects. So you can go ahead and make all of your column names just corresponded to fields in Nimble. If you have information in your files that doesn't already have a dedicated field in Nimble, you can always select data fields over here to the left to create any custom fields for your account. So you can go ahead and sync that information directly. For instance, I made a language field for my different contacts. You can choose text boxes, drop-down menus that you can select from. You have quite a few options in terms of your data fields here. So returning to our Today page here, this is where, again, once you've gone ahead and connected everything, you'll start to see things automatically populate. For instance, information from your calendars here on the left would start syncing to Nimble, etc. As I mentioned, the Today page is completely customizable, so you can move any of these widgets around. You can add or remove them from the display using these 3 dots here in the corner, or you can even select Manage Widgets here, and you'll be able to add a logo, change your cover photo, or again, remove any of these widgets, drag and drop them to new positions if you'd like as well. Duplicating the widgets can be helpful so that you can see more than one display at once. You'll notice that a lot of them have, a lot of them have drop-down menus that you can use, for instance, to see specific calendars, either your built-in Nimble calendar, any that you've synced. You might, for instance, want to have your different calendars displayed, so you can duplicate widgets, create a few to show your different calendars. Likewise, for things like tasks and activities, you can view them as they are related to you, so your tasks and upcoming activities, or you can view your teams. So you might, for instance, want widgets that some are for your team, some are for you. You might want to have both of those displays up at once. This is also helpful for our Deals tab. But as I mentioned, you have the ability to also, put whatever information is most important to you. You can sort of rearrange this so it best reflects your process. I'll go ahead and go over each widget here just so you have a better understanding. I've already mentioned the tasks. That refers to, for instance, you'll notice the summaries at the top, tasks overdue. That would refer to these here that appear in red. This is where you can create to-do list items for yourself and your team members. You can link other contacts as well as deals. You can even tag them if you'd like to easily group and identify all activities related to a certain project. You can mark them completed or important, and you can use this drop-down menu to view your different types of activities, whether they be upcoming, overdue, completed, or important. The events widget, as I mentioned, any calendars you've synced, you'll go ahead and be able to view them here. We also have a built-in Nimble calendar that you and your teammates can use to create events on, and those would appear here as well. In addition to tasks and events, you can create custom activities in Nimble. So for instance, if there's a text, a live stream, some kind of meeting or follow-up that you and your team carry out often, you might just want to create that as a custom activity. And you can also log calls in Nimble. So for any pending, completed, or upcoming, or rather overdue calls for yourself or your teammates, you can go ahead and view those here as well. Our deals widget here will simply show any of your deals that you've created. So those might be active deals that you're still working on, or deals that you've closed that have been marked won or lost by your team members or yourself, and they will all be displayed here. There's a couple more as well. For instance, our stage funnel will allow you to select a specific pipeline. You'll be able to see in a funnel view all leading towards closing your deal where you have the most deals, where you have the most monetary gains, where you might need to put a little bit more focus, etc. So this will just help you sort of visualize that overall process. And then additionally, you can select either the pipeline chart or our revenue by pipeline chart here to show information related to your specific pipelines. Here you'll be able to see a color-coded view of the different stages your deal are in and exactly when they're expected to be completed, so you can gauge your progress over time. Likewise, you'll be able to see monthly your revenue, wins versus losses, your forecasted previews and things like that, all linked here. And additionally, we also have a couple widgets. For instance, our Stay in Touch widget here, which will allow you to keep certain contacts top of mind by setting a little reminder at a given period. And as they approach that time, they'll be placed on this list. You can always go ahead and reset them or send someone a message to automatically update that. And our email tracking widget will go ahead and show you who's opened and clicked any links in your messages, so you can always keep up with your correspondence, see which of your contacts are really keeping up with your messages, who you might need to reach out to a little bit more, etc. And I don't have all of the widgets displayed here, but there are a few more. For instance, there is a signals widget, which would display those social media insights that I mentioned. We also have a highlighted contacts widget. And the way this works is that in your settings, you can go ahead and add some certain keywords for different industries or different contacts or fields that they might be interested in. For instance, you can put in words like CEO, art, marketing, real estate, etc., any sort of keywords like that. And this widget will display any contacts that meets those criteria, just to sort of give you a little heads up. You might want to reach out to them. They might be instrumental to your process. Those can also be super helpful. Once you've set up your account and imported contacts, they will all be housed in our contacts tab. This will probably be where you'll be spending a lot of time. Nimble has a lot of features, but the contact database is at its heart. So you'll notice on the left here, there's some built-in filters, all contacts, people versus companies, any contacts that have been marked important with this little star icon. Likewise, any of your stay in touch contacts that you've marked here will be listed there. We also keep track of recently viewed, added, and contacted. And your removed contacts filter will hold any contacts that you've deleted. So if you select a contact and then select to go ahead and delete it, it'll be stored in there for up to 60 days, or the account admin can set how many days they'd like it to remain there, just in case you ever want to restore any contacts from there. You'll notice that for any of your contacts, you can view their record, and they all pretty much appear like so. You'll notice that their name, picture, and title will be in the top left here. You can also go ahead and take any actions from the profile. So for instance, you can log notes. You just go ahead and type directly, and then those notes will be saved here under interactions, under this notes section here. Additionally, you can log any of those activities I just mentioned. So tasks, calls, events, so go ahead and decide which calendar you want to sync them to here, as well as those custom activities that you might have created, all be displayed here. You can also go ahead and, of course, send messages, whether those be emails directly from the email account you've connected or direct messages. And of course, you can create deals as well. And you'll notice the contact's name is already added to this deal record. You can go ahead and give it a name, select a probability of success, and then just go ahead and select exactly which pipeline and stage you'd like it to be in, and even go ahead and assign privacy if you'd like. You can also assign privacy to your different contacts. So on every contact record, you'll notice there's an option here. You can share your contacts with everyone, make them private as the owner, or even make them visible to everyone on your team so that everyone can see them, but maybe not edit them, depending on how collaboratively you work with your team. And of course, you can set custom privacy as well for specific groups or people. This is also where you can set those stay in touch reminders that I mentioned. So select your time frame here, or even a custom period. And then you can also assign contact ownership. So typically the person that imports contacts is the one who is listed as the contact owner, but you can reassign ownership to other members on your team. The account admin can also assign contact ownership sort of overall. And the contact owner would be able to go ahead and manage those privacy settings and things like that. You'll also be able to create tags. As I mentioned, you might want to tag any of your contacts. So you can easily group and identify them. You can create them here or in the contacts tab or upon import, of course. But if you just wanted to add a tag as you're working within a record, you can do it here. You can also remove or edit any of these tags directly from here. And additionally, you might want to use what we call our lead fields to organize your contacts. This is where you can rate your contacts 1 to 5. You can select the status, where you are in your dealings with them, as well as a source where you might have been initially introduced to them, and the type of contact that they are. And then you can always search based on any of these values in the contacts tab. So you can, for instance, get a group of all of your contacts that are prospects, maybe from a certain region or from a certain company or something like that. So those can be very helpful for getting very specific groups and lists of contacts. On the right side of the contact record, under interactions here, You'll notice that the entire history of interactions you've had will be listed here. So any activities, those calls that you've logged, any calendar events, as well as deals, likewise any email history between you and your contact will be listed here. Twitter messages would also be displayed if you've connected your Twitter. And you can also use these individual tabs at the top to view specific types of interactions. So once you add a contact to Nimble and connect your email account, you'll have a running history, and likewise your calendar, you'll have a running history of any of your meetings with them, any of your correspondence, etc. So you and any of your teammates can always view this here if you'd like to go ahead and just get a better view of your history with a given contact. This way you can, sort of manage your relationships and nurture them over time. Additionally, all of your data fields will be displayed here. So of course, your basic contact information will be here. Again, any links to social profiles for your contacts, Facebook, Foursquare, LinkedIn will also be listed here, those lead details, etc. And if you have created any custom fields, as I mentioned, I created one for languages for my contacts. I made it a drop-down menu so I can select from a specific list. Those will all be listed here as well. For instance, I also have an event field, company fields. You can really enter almost any information. You can create fields with drop-down menus, a text box that you can type directly into, numerical values like monetary values, percentages, dates, any of that really can be added as you're in your data fields menu. So if you do want to, as I mentioned, go ahead and add information that doesn't already have a specific field in Nimble, you can go ahead and create it. You can also attach files, lastly, from OneDrive, Google Drive, Dropbox, or even your computer. So if you have, contracts, blueprints, anything really related to a contact, you might want to go ahead and upload it there just so you have it easily accessible right from the record. When you go back to the contacts tab, you can also use that segmentation feature. So that is the search function I mentioned where you can get very specific groups of contacts. In addition to all your tags, you'll see listed here on the bottom left. The real difference between the tags and segments is that tags are static and they have to be created and added manually. You select a contact or group of contacts and go ahead and add your tag to it. Versus the segments are just lists that are based on criteria you've entered into Nimble. So you can basically perform a search and create different filters. You can do that by either clicking Add Segment here, or you'll notice if you're just viewing a contact, you can click Segment Search towards the top here. And this will allow you to take sort of get these specific groups and then take bulk actions with these groups. Like you might want to, tag them all, send them all a message, etc. So for instance, I can create a search for any of my contacts that have been contacted recently within a given time frame. So maybe in the last 30 days, or I can even select a specific date frame if I'd like. And this will show me all the contacts that I've reached out to in that time frame. Additionally, I might want to go ahead and send them on email, so I can create another filter for any of them that have an email listed. And that'll give me this, oh great, they all have an email listed. So that'll give me the specific group. I can go ahead and save it if I wanted to for future use, and it'd be listed here under my segments. I could also go ahead and take bulk actions like marking this entire list important or tagging them, setting a reminder. I could even change their ownership, privacy, or add them all to a workflow. I'll go over that workflows feature in just a moment here. I could export them to a CSV, to MailChimp, or even to a vCard format. And lastly, I could send them a group message or even delete them all if I wanted to. If you'll send them a group message, click send group message there. This will take you to the group messages form. And this is where you can send out a message to multiple contacts at once. Nimble allows you to send targeted messages to 100, 200, or 300 contacts per day. You'll see the limit in the top right there. And this is a great way to go ahead and send out targeted sales outreach or marketing messages to any of your contacts. You'll notice here that, or suppose the most common question is how these messages are sent, and if Nimble could, or this could be used as a marketing automation system. The simple answer is that no, this is meant to be used in conjunction with the segmentation feature. So the basic workflow would be crafting that list of contacts in your contacts tab, selecting them, and then sending them over to the group messages here. We can go ahead and pull in a template or go ahead and send out a message that you liked. But these are super helpful for like marketing and things like that. As I mentioned, these messages will be sent over the server for the email account you've connected to Nimble. So for your personal email account, Nimble doesn't have a server that would deliver these messages. So they'll be, sent as one-to-one messages from you to your contacts. No one else will be CC'd or BCC'd unless you specifically go ahead and enter their name there. And when you are sending messages, you might, for instance, want to add a merge tag, which will just make everything a little bit more personal. For instance, this will pull in everyone's first name. Message will say, hi, Danielle, hi, Anna, hi, Wanda, etc. And you send them out. And you can, of course, attach files, links, change your fonts, or add any images that you'd like. You can also go ahead and add an unsubscribe link, just so people have the option of opting out here. And of course, you can send yourself a test message to make sure it appears just as you would like it to. Group messages in Nimble are automatically tracked, but you can always click don't track this message if you don't want them tracked. And if you like to set up these templates ahead of time, if you'd like to set up these templates ahead of time, you can go to your email settings as well, clicking here, and then email settings. This is where you can create different templates. You can also share these templates with your team. Likewise, you can create an email signature here, or even copy and paste your signature if you've already created one. And go ahead and save that so it'll automatically be added to all of your message. And then after you've sent your messages, you can review your group messages tab to view any tracking insights here. So you can see, who's opened and clicked any of the messages you've sent, if any have gone unread, if any have failed to be delivered, or if anyone has unsubscribed from any of your messages. You'll be able to view all these here. And then you can use these insights to go ahead and follow up with your users, because you'll be able to see here the percentages as well as for each individual user here. So you can, for instance, select all the users who haven't read any of your messages and go ahead and maybe tag them, signifying so, or even click send message here, and that'll send you right back to that group messages tab where you can go ahead and send them a follow-up message directly. The activities listing tab that we've created will give you a comprehensive list of all of your scheduled tasks, activities, etc. So that would be here in our activities tab. There's a couple of views. For instance, the agenda will show you like the week's worth of events. So essentially your most recent or upcoming events would be here, and you can use these filters on the left to decide which type of event you'd like to display, based on who it's assigned to. You can go ahead and also go ahead and view based on any of the tags that have been added, or you can check next to any of your calendars to go ahead and display events from those. The activity listing here will show you a similar view, but here you'll also be able to filter activities based on any contacts that have been related to them. Likewise, you can go ahead and filter it based on the status. So whether they're completed, upcoming, pending, successful, etc. You can go ahead and filter activities based on that. And you can save filters for future use here. So if, for instance, you want to return to a group of activities that was, assigned to a certain user on your account of a certain type, you can always save that. You can also export activities from here to a CSV file. So just go ahead and select your filtered list and the date range. You'll receive a spreadsheet of this information emailed directly to you. Additionally, you can configure this table to view information that's specific to or best suited to your needs here. So you can see what's most important at a glance. Additionally, our workflows feature, which we just recently implemented, will make it so that another lead never slips through the cracks here. This will help you and your team visualize the progress of your different contacts, moving them through the different stages as you qualify them, maybe through a buying phase, or ultimately you might want to convert them to a sale. Whether you're in real estate, marketing, you're a recruiter, or consultant, you can utilize these customizable sort of Kanban boards and multiple pipelines and stages to really reflect your business and its needs. For instance, I've created some custom ones here, new leads pipeline, potential hires pipeline. With these stages, you can also decide, like I have, exactly which information will be displayed. So I've chosen to just have tags, employment history, and basic contact info shipped here, but you can decide which information you'd like to display. There's also a list view, and from the list view, you can go ahead and perform inline edits. So for instance, you might want to go ahead and edit information as you're looking through your different contact records here. At the beginning of your lead process, you might find yourself with a bunch of contacts that you sort of want to filter through your process. They might not all be ready to be deals or sort of move through your sales process or move on to bigger projects. So this will sort of help you cut down on some of the clutter and the distractions the pipeline might create. In Nimble, you can also add these different contacts to your account before adding them to your deal pipeline, and you can also import these workflows or contacts directly to your workflows through spreadsheets. So, upon CSV import or even through the API, this will help you, organize your potential contacts before you're really ready to make bigger moves with them. As I already showed you, you can go ahead and create segments based on these. So based on, you can search for contacts based on the pipeline they're in or even the active stage they might be in your pipeline. You can also add contacts to these different workflows in bulk. And additionally, we do have some sort of built-in templates that have already been created. So you can create them from scratch if you'd like, creating the specific stages and things that your contacts will go through. Or if you are in any of these industries, you can always select here, for instance, and you'll be able to see the exact stages that will automatically be added to the pipeline, as well as the fields that'll be displayed on these lead cards for your contacts. So this can be really helpful. Of course, if you're in any of these industries, you can select, a specific pipeline. So you can sort of manage all these different interactions and keep up with your process here. And if you ever want to adjust any of this, you can always go to your settings. This is where you can create new workflows, where you can create new stages. You'll notice that some of these are already built in. You can also, ultimately you might want to exit a contact from these pipelines. You can go ahead and list the reasons why. For instance, just to give yourself a little bit more information, to give your team a bit more context. Additionally, for all these stages that you create, you can enter instructions as well, just to really keep everyone on track. You can also adjust these lead cards here. So this is where you can decide exactly which fields you'd like to display for any of your pipelines. You can adjust the settings here. And as I mentioned, if you'd like to go ahead and add contacts to workflow through the API, you would use this little ID here to go ahead and manage that. And then beyond that, once you do that, all of this will appear in your different workflow pipelines. So you'll notice the information displayed there, as well as all of those different stages. Similarly, in your deals tab, you can create those pipelines, custom pipelines to sort of manage these opportunities, maybe once you've finished them in your workflows. You can use this for marketing projects, renewals, really anything. And you can create as many pipelines as you needed with as many of those different stages as you need. Again, it'll appear like so. When you create your new deal, they'll be automatically added. You can view any deals by pipeline using these drop-down menus at the top here. So notice my lead nurturing pipeline has quite a few more steps. And as you sort of move them through, you'll see that information reflected in each stage. That's the information that goes back to those widgets on the Today page as well. And if you view a deal, you'll notice that any contacts you've linked, similar to on the profile, similar to your interactions, if you've linked any contacts, messages to and from them will be displayed here as they might be related to the deal. Likewise, any activities you've created and added the deal name into would be there. You can also add notes directly from here. You can create those activities directly from here as well. And then you can also go ahead and attach any files from OneDrive, Google Drive, or Dropbox as you'd like. And for any contacts that are added, that have been linked either as the primary contact or in the participants field, you can always click their profile here to go ahead and display it. And that'll allow you to go ahead and work within their profile while you're here, just in case you need to retrieve any relevant information or you want to add a tag or a note without having to leave your actual deal record. Okay. And when you're in your pipelines, if you were to go ahead and click customize at the top here, this is similar to your workflows pipelines, and that this is where you can go ahead and create your different stages. You can sort of drag and drop them to new positions, add any new stages, give descriptions or anything like that as well. So this is where you would create your pipelines for your deal stages. And then when you create a new deal, you'll notice that by just clicking new deal here, you can enter your name, of course, a contact's name, primary contact or participants. You give an amount and set the expected close date, and then you can assign these deals to yourself or any team members, as well as assign privacy. And then you'll just go ahead and select the exact pipeline and stage you'd like to add your deal to. And once you've created deals, you might want to also export these for your records. You can always click export to CSV at the top there, and that'll give you the options of what deals you'd like to go ahead and export. In your reports tab, you'll see some analyzed information from all these various deal records. So as you're sort of working within them, you might, for instance, want to view information over a given time frame. You'll be able to see your wins versus losses, both in just the actual amount of deals and the monetary value. You can always look here to see that weighted versus total view. The weighted is based on that probability of success that you can select for your deals. And you'll be able to see how each individual team member is performing, as well as the overall information. You might want to use the forecasted deals to see, your projections over time, both the revenue and the actual amount of deals. See how your team is expected to progress. And then the deals history will give you sort of a line graph over time. So you'll be able to see how all of your different team members are performing, how your trajectory is going, as well as, again, based on the revenue or just the amount of deals for a given time frame. So the forecasted deals, as I mentioned, will show you those future outlooks. The deals history will show you your past. Looks like we've covered all the main features here, but I would also like to go ahead and give you a look at the Prospector, which is the browser extension that I mentioned. So this can be helpful when you're on LinkedIn. For instance, you might want to go to a user's profile, and you can create a Nimble profile for them, a live profile while you're working within LinkedIn. You can also perform searches. The browser extension will appear next to my address bar. So at the top, you'll notice there's a little Nimble icon there. Click there, and you can search for any contacts, or if you're on someone's profile, you can highlight or hover over their name. I've already added Gemma to my contacts, so you'll notice that it brings up her Nimble profile, and I have the option to go ahead and take any actions like logging activities, signing ownership, doing all of those things. It's also pulled in this information specifically from different websites that are linked to her. So for instance, Foursquare, CredScore, etc. It's picked up information like an email address, some work history, location, etc. As you can toggle this to different positions. You might, for instance, want to highlight, as I just did, like a name like Simon, and then you'll see it'll create another search for them, adding any information it can. It'll also give me some options of other social profiles that I might believe are related to them, and I can go ahead and add them if I'd like. And if I want to go ahead and click Add Contact, it'll go ahead and create a profile here for Simon that I can begin working within. So we have this extension either for Chrome, like I'm using. It's also available for Firefox, Microsoft Edge, and Safari. So you can use that on any social media websites. You might be on Facebook or something like that. You can use it on LinkedIn, of course, or even on a company website. If you're looking at the employees page, you might want to find a bit more information on the different employees of that company. You can go ahead and use it then as well. Additionally, we have an extension that works in Outlook that would work similarly, allowing you to sort of open up the Nimble profile for any contacts in your email history. And of course, we do have a mobile app as well that I can just begin to show you some of based on our of course, different and amazing, I should mention, support articles here that we have in Nimble. So the mobile app works pretty similarly in that you'll be able to see your full agenda listing. You'll be able to see all of your activities. So while you're out on the road or on the go, you can just go ahead and check there to see any upcoming appointments and things. You'll also be able to view all of your contact profiles, search for any contacts, go ahead and add notes, tags, anything relevant. Additionally, if you're using the mobile app and you're doing things like making calls, once you complete a call, you'll be prompted to log it in Nimble here. So you can go ahead and log any of those activities. And as I mentioned, this is both for Android and for iOS, for the iPhone. Additionally, you can import contacts or sync contacts to Nimble directly from your phone book. So that can also be helpful. So you can kind of unify your contact lists. And you'll also be able to see any deals that you're working on as well. And of course, as I mentioned, this is for both iOS and Android. They look pretty similar, honestly, and they have all the same functionalities. So you can always check there. All right. Excellent. Well, thank you all so much for attending. I know that we have probably a few questions that you want to get to. So I guess we'll go ahead and take a look there. Additionally, I did just want to mention that we do have some upcoming webinars that you might be interested in checking out. So for instance, we do have one next week, which will be specifically on segmentation, group messaging, and custom fields. You might be interested in checking that out if you have any more questions. And additionally, we'll have another one of these general overviews at the beginning of February. Great. And for anyone who hasn't already signed up for Nimble, if you did want to sign up today, you can go to nimble.com/offers/webinar30 to go ahead and create a free trial account, which will let you utilize Nimble for 30 days. So you can have some time to play around with the system and learn how it works best for you. We're also, of course, available always to answer any questions. This would be a great way to go ahead and get started. And now I guess I'll go ahead and get to any questions that you've been writing out. If you do have any questions, go ahead and feel free to type in that question section. And I'll try and answer all of these in the next couple of moments. Is it possible to enter an Excel Google spreadsheet into Nimble without having to manually enter each contact? Yes, so you just go ahead and import the file, as I mentioned. You will have to match the different data fields in the file to the data fields that exist in Nimble. But if you have, a CSV file that you're importing, it's basically the same format every time. You can even save the mapping so that you can just select those mapping options just once. Typically, it will automatically, recognize them, like first names, addresses, things like that. But depending on, the format or the wording used, you might need to go ahead and manually select some of them. You can go ahead and save them for future use. So you can just go ahead and map it once and use that same format every time. How do we handle multiple locations while importing from a CSV? When you say multiple locations, I'm not sure if you're referring to literal addresses. There are, of course, multiple address fields that you can definitely sync information into. Or if you're referring to like multiple users importing contacts at different times, there are definitely settings on the last page of that import process that you can use to merge contacts. They'll automatically be merged based on email address or first name and last name if no email is available. Similarly for companies, they'll be merged based on domain or name. So all of your contacts should sync up and merge. If you're importing from different sources or even different users, you should be able to avoid any duplicates. Okay, and then I have a question. How do I add color to text in group messages? At the moment, there's not, I assume you're talking about highlighting the different fonts for your group messages. At the moment, there's not a way to adjust colors. It'll just be the standard sort of black font. You can definitely adjust your font size and the actual font type. So, Courier, Arial, etc. But at the moment, there's not a way to highlight the text with different colors in Nimble. But I would be happy to actually pass it along to our product team. We're always happy to take suggestions that might improve Nimble. So thank you for that. Additionally, I sent a group message before and there's no tracking info. Is there a reason for this? Yes, so recently our engineers last week were investigating an issue with message tracking. So I believe they disabled it temporarily, just so they could go ahead and do some research. I believe that it should be resolved now. So you might want to go ahead and check in your account now. But yes, for the moment, that would explain why you were receiving a not applicable response for those messages. Do you have a range of different workflow templates that you can share with us so we can access somehow to help us build out what we need? So yeah, those templates would be stored in that, as I mentioned, let's go ahead and show you directly in Nimble here. So any of your templates would be in that workflows tab. You can review any of them. You might find one that's specific to your industry that might be helpful, or of course, you can, rename and adjust these as necessary. So if you find one with the perfect stages and fields that you'd like, you can always just title it whatever you'd like. So these would be helpful. We don't have, beyond this, we don't have any other templates, but these would be great for just going ahead and getting right into the workflows and beginning to add your contacts and things if you don't want to create a template, or rather create a workflow from scratch. Can you get a copy of this recording? Sure. So all of our webinars are posted on our YouTube channel. As I mentioned, we have a couple of upcoming, like the one on segmentation and another overview. You can find all of that here. I'll go ahead and put this in the chat. But you can also just Google like Nimble CRM YouTube. But I've gone ahead and put the link there. So you'll notice, for instance, last week's was on contact cleanup strategies. We have some that are on group messaging, on managing your deals, etc. So you can always check here on our YouTube channels for the most recent webinars. So that'll be posted there probably later today. Great. Can we set triggers for email campaigns? At the moment, there's not a way to create triggers within Nimble. If you're familiar with like third-party integrators such as Zapier or something like that, I do know that you can create zaps, as they call them, which you can trigger if you've connected Nimble in another app. Actions taken in one app will trigger instances in Nimble, like contacts being created and tasks and things like that. At the moment, there's not a way to automate email campaigns. Basic workflow would just be crafting that list of contacts ahead of time and saving that for whenever you want to use them, and then going ahead and saving an email template ahead of time. And then whenever you're ready, you can just go ahead and select that group, go to the group messages tab, pull in your template, and go ahead and send it out. If someone joins into my account, will backend emails propagate into Nimble? So emails will display once you connect an email account for the last 90 days and all messages going forward. So if you would like to connect, any email account to Nimble, it'll show messages from that account from, again, the last 3 months and then all messages going forward. If you'd like to write into us directly, we can try and sync emails back further, maybe a year or two. So I guess it depends on how much email history you need. But otherwise, it should, the minute you connect that account, it should show at least 3 months prior emails. So I guess it depends on how backdated these messages are. And if you want to keep, if you're, for instance, replacing a user and you want to keep their information in Nimble, like their messages and things like that, you would just want to go ahead and leave that email account connected to their Nimble account. Even if you're, changing their name or adding a new user and that user would like to add their messages and things, you would just want to keep that old account connected so that you can still display those historic messages. Great. Is there a way to expand the cabinet view in the deals section? At the moment, there's not a way to expand the view. You might consider using the list view, which just might be a little bit more helpful, depending on how or exactly what information you're trying to view. You can configure the tables and things like that. But otherwise, at the moment, there is not a way to adjust the sizing of that feature. After integrating with LinkedIn, can you search the contact's content by keyword? I'm not exactly sure what you mean by this question. At the moment, there's not a way to directly integrate LinkedIn. As I mentioned, you can import contacts directly from LinkedIn. So you'll be able to see, any of your LinkedIn contacts and their data fields and things like that in Nimble, or you can work directly on LinkedIn and use the Prospector to view their Nimble profile or take any actions in Nimble as necessary. And then additionally, if you're syncing information from LinkedIn directly to Nimble, in that contacts tab, you can search based on keywords, notes that you've entered into the profile, domains, contact info, etc. So you could create, for instance, a segment search based on any of the information you believe to be in one of those profiles. Yes, you can definitely sync addresses and emails from multiple contacts. So in your CSV file, you just go ahead and import that information. There'll be different fields, work fields, other personal address fields, address 1, 2, etc. So just go ahead and match them up accordingly, and you'll be able to sync multiple addresses and emails. As you pull contacts from LinkedIn, can we search by keywords for their correspondence? So LinkedIn messages and conversation history won't sync to Nimble, just the actual contact info. So you wouldn't be able to search within Nimble for keywords for correspondence in LinkedIn, if that makes sense. Are emails and attachments saved within each user's owner's account, or are they mapped to 365 and saved there? So emails would be specific to each user's account. When you import your emails, as I mentioned, your email history display. If these emails are to and from Nimble contacts, they'll display on those Nimble contact records under interaction, so the whole team should be able to see them. Additionally, any attachments that are saved in those emails, if those emails are displayed, any user should be able to go ahead and click on those messages and then click on the attachments. Great. All right, and that looks like the end of the questions for the moment. Again, if you do have any other questions, you can always feel free to go ahead and message us at care@nimble.com. That's the best place to get answers to questions that are specific to your account, as this is sort of, an overview in a group setting. So that's always helpful. I've gone ahead and put the YouTube link in the chat if anyone would like to check that out to view this or any of our past webinars. And I'll also go ahead and put the link to our support channel in here in case you prefer. Some people prefer to read an article with this information. You can always search here. Chances are, if you have a question, we've probably written a support article about it. So you can always search for any topics or any keywords here, and it will bring up all of the articles related to that feature. All right. I want to thank you all so much for attending. I hope I was able to answer all of your questions, but if not, again, do not hesitate to reach out to us. We're always happy to help. I want to thank you all so much for attending today, and I'm wishing you a great rest of your week. Thanks so much. Bye-bye.